Before you were born, your soul made a decision that would shape everything about your life. This was not some random choice or a product of chance. It was a decision made with intention. Your soul deliberately chose this body, this specific moment in history, and everything that would come with it, the joys, the struggles, and even the pain. Your soul knew what it was getting into when it chose this life. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. This was all part of the grand plan. But the moment you took your first breath, you forgot. Everything was wiped away, and the world around you began to condition you into forgetting the truth of your existence. This wasn't just a random occurrence. It was a carefully designed process. Society, culture, and even your own family ensured that you would forget the deeper truths of who you are and why you're here. You were conditioned to believe that life starts at birth and ends at death. You were led to believe that everything is random, that you're just a body, a fleeting existence here by mere chance. But deep down, you've always known that this isn't the full story. Have you ever had that feeling when you meet someone for the first time, yet it feels like you've known them forever? That wasn't just chance. There's something deeper at play. Or consider those dreams you've had that felt too real to just be a product of your imagination. Those dreams weren't random either. They were memories, fragments of something that your soul has already experienced. And what about that déjà vu? The unexplainable sensation of familiarity when you visit a place you've never been. Those moments aren't by accident either. They're echoes from your soul's past journeys, reminders of something greater that lies beyond the veil of your current life. But why? Why would your soul choose to forget? Why would it voluntarily enter this world knowing that it would be trapped in this illusion? Earth is a school, a place for growth, learning, and development. Your soul entered this life willingly, knowing that it would experience hardships, challenges, losses, and even pain. All of it is part of a grander design, a process that goes far beyond your individual experience. The challenges you face, the struggles you endure, the relationships you form, they're all part of a greater spiritual curriculum. But here's the catch. None of this is meant to be permanent. Life on Earth is a phase, a stepping stone, a brief training ground before your soul moves on to something greater. Most people, however, remain unaware of this grand design. They live their lives thinking this physical world is the ultimate reality, that what they see, touch, and experience is all there is. This illusion becomes so strong that it becomes difficult to break free from it. Many people become so attached to the material world, to wealth, status, possessions, and achievements, that they never realize the truth. None of it lasts. None of it follows you when you leave this world. But the soul that is able to see beyond the veil begins to remember. It begins to awaken to the truth that it is more than just a body. It is an eternal, infinite consciousness. This forgetting of your soul's deeper purpose is not accidental. It's intentional. You were placed into a system designed to make you forget. From the moment you were born, the world began to tell you what was real, what was possible, and what was foolish to even question. Your parents, teachers, society, all of them played a role in conditioning you into believing that you are merely your body, your name, your identity. You were taught a belief system, a nationality, a set of labels meant to anchor you to an identity that was never truly yours. You were told that you must follow a certain path, go to school, get a job, buy a house, start a family, and eventually retire. The cycle continues, generation after generation, with everyone trapped in the same routine. Most people never question it. They just follow the script because they've been conditioned to believe that this is all there is. But here's the great truth they don't want you to know. Everything around you is an illusion. The material world, the one you wake up to every morning, is not the ultimate reality. It's a fleeting stage, a temporary projection of energy shaped into form. And yet, most people mistake it for the ultimate reality. They get caught up in the chase for wealth, status, and recognition, thinking that these things will define them. They believe that if they acquire enough, achieve enough, or accumulate enough power, they will finally find happiness. But the truth is that none of this follows them when they die. It doesn't come with them. And in the end, it was all an illusion. This illusion is reinforced daily. Society tells you that happiness comes from achievement, from external validation, from fitting into a system that values you only when you produce, consume, and obey. The world hands you a script, a life path to follow. And it's a path that has been walked by billions of people before you. You go to school, get a job, buy a house, start a family, retire, and fade away. And yet, this is the greatest lie of all. There is so much more to life than this. Your soul came here for a purpose, and it's not just about following a preordained path of external success. The external world, the material world, is not the be-all and end-all of existence. Your soul knew this before you were born. It understood that it was entering a temporary realm, a realm that would give it the opportunity to learn and grow. But the material world is not your home. It's not where your true essence resides. The truth is that life is not random. You're not here by accident. Your soul chose to come here. You chose this life, this body, this moment in history. You agreed to experience the joys and the pains, the ups and downs, because you knew that these experiences would help you grow and evolve. But the world around you would have you believe otherwise. It would have you believe that life is random, that you are just a product of chance, and that there is nothing more to your existence than what meets the eye. But deep down, you know this isn't true. You've always known that there is something more to your existence, something beyond the physical body and the material world. The deeper part of you, the soul, remembers, and it's waiting for you to wake up. This awakening isn't something that happens all at once. It's a gradual process. As you go through life, the layers of illusion begin to peel away, bit by bit. You start to recognize the patterns, the connections, the synchronicities that seem to follow you around. You start to realize that this life is not the first time you've walked this path. You've been here before, and you'll be here again. But each time, you forget a little more of what you once knew, until you reach the moment when you begin to remember again. And that's the purpose of this life, to wake up, to remember who you truly are, to recognize that you're not just this body, not just this name, not just this identity. You are something far greater, something beyond the physical realm. This life is not an accident. It is a choice. Your soul chose this life, and you can choose to wake up to the truth of who you really are. The moment you were born, you entered a world that would do everything in its power to make you forget. From the first cry you took, the process of forgetting began. It wasn't an oversight. It was intentional, a fundamental part of your journey in this life. You see, the truth about who you are, what you've done before, and what you came here to experience is all buried deep within you. But society, family, and even the world you were born into work tirelessly to erase that deeper knowing. Imagine this. You were born without a name, without a nationality, without a set of beliefs. You entered this world as a pure, unconditioned soul. Yet, the moment you opened your eyes, you were given a name, a nationality, a belief system, labels that would define you, confine you, and ultimately limit you. These labels were not inherently yours. They were handed to you by the world around you, placed there with the intention of anchoring you to a version of yourself that wasn't real. And while these labels serve practical purposes, helping you navigate the physical world, they also kept you locked in an identity that was never meant to fully define you. Your first steps were guided not by your soul's truth, but by the social expectations imposed on you. Language, which was meant to be a tool of communication, was instead used to define and restrict your consciousness. You were taught how to think, what was possible, what was real, and what was impossible. Your mind was shaped, not to expand, but to fit into the confines of a predefined reality, one that told you there were boundaries and limits to what you could achieve. From early childhood, you were indoctrinated into a worldview that told you who you were, what you were meant to do, and how you should behave. This conditioning didn't stop at your name or your identity. It went deeper. You were told what was important. You were told that success came from external validation. A good job, a nice house, a successful career, recognition from others. You were told that happiness was something you could acquire, something that came from achievement, from external sources. You were told that life followed a predictable path. Grow up, get an education, start a career, raise a family, and then retire. This script was handed to you, not as a suggestion, but as a predetermined path that most people follow without ever questioning. But here's the problem. This script, this path, is an illusion. It's not the truth of your soul's journey. It's not the way your soul intended for you to experience life. It is a constructed reality, designed to keep you from seeing the bigger picture. The world around you encourages you to chase after things that are temporary: wealth, status, recognition. It encourages you to value things that, in the grand scheme of existence, are fleeting. And yet, you are taught that these things are the ultimate goals in life. You are encouraged to believe that if you just achieve these things, you'll be happy. But deep down, you've always known that this isn't true. Have you ever noticed how, when you achieve something, you're left feeling unfulfilled, as if something is still missing? That is the disconnect. You've been conditioned to believe that these achievements will bring you lasting happiness, but they can't. They don't last, and they don't define you. The world will tell you that happiness comes from external success, from possessions, from relationships. But the truth is that happiness is not something you can acquire. It's something you must remember. This is why the process of forgetting is so crucial. When you were born, your soul knew that it had to enter this world without the knowledge of its true self. You had to forget the deeper truths, the cosmic wisdom you brought with you, in order to experience the world in the way that Earth intended, through struggle, through pain, through love, through loss. If you were born with the full awareness of your soul's journey, you wouldn't be able to experience life in the way it was meant to unfold. The forgetting allows you to experience life through the lens of a human being, to fully engage in the lessons, challenges, and opportunities that this physical realm offers. But that doesn't mean the forgetting is permanent. In fact, the very process of life, the struggles, the challenges, the moments of growth, are designed to help you remember. The more you experience, the more you will begin to recognize that there's something deeper to you than your physical body, your name, your story. And as you begin to awaken to this deeper truth, the illusion begins to lose its grip on you. The more you remember, the less attached you become to the labels, the identities, and the external markers of success that society has placed on you. But why is it so difficult to wake up? Why do so many people remain trapped in the cycle of forgetting, constantly chasing after things that will never bring them fulfillment? The answer lies in attachment. Attachment to the material world, attachment to identities, attachment to desires. All of these keep you locked in the illusion. Attachment makes it hard for you to see beyond the veil of the physical world, and it keeps you coming back again and again to this world of illusions. Attachment is like an invisible chain that binds your soul to this cycle of life, death, and rebirth. As long as you remain attached to the things of this world, to the temporary pleasures and possessions that you believe define you, you will continue to reincarnate. Your soul will keep coming back again and again until it has learned to let go. The more you attach yourself to material things, to status, to recognition, to external validation, the more difficult it becomes to break free from the cycle. But there's hope. The hope lies in the ability to remember. The moment you begin to wake up to the truth that life is an illusion, that your soul is eternal, and that none of the material things you chase will bring you lasting fulfillment, that's when the cycle begins to shift. You start to realize that happiness isn't something you acquire from the outside world, but something you rediscover within. You begin to understand that everything you've ever chased, everything you've ever thought was important, is temporary. And when you see that truth, the illusion begins to lose its grip on you. The path to remembering is not easy. It requires a deep willingness to let go of the attachments that keep you bound to the material world. It requires a willingness to see the world as it is, not as it's been presented to you. But it's possible. You have within you the ability to wake up, to see beyond the illusion, and to remember the truth of who you really are. And when you do, the cycle of forgetting begins to break, and the illusion begins to dissolve. It's time to peel back the layers of the illusion and face the truth. Everything around you is a projection, a temporary illusion shaped by energy. The world you wake up to each morning, the one you've spent your entire life interacting with, is nothing more than a fleeting stage, a brief moment in an endless dance of existence. The physical world, with all its matter and form, is not the ultimate reality. It's a temporary projection of consciousness, one that you mistake for the entirety of life itself. Yet this is where most people get stuck. They believe that the material world, the one they can see and touch, is all there is. They think that the success they accumulate, the wealth they acquire, and the recognition they gain are the most important aspects of their existence. But what if everything you see is not what it seems? Consider for a moment, everything you know, the houses, the cars, the material possessions you spend your life chasing, is fleeting. The things you believe will define you, the possessions you think are essential, are all temporary. Your body, too, is temporary, as is your name, your identity, and the life you live. Everything you attach to in this world, everything you think you own, will eventually fade away. It's not a matter of if, but when. The truth is that none of this follows you when you die. None of it is yours in any permanent sense. The wealth you've accumulated, the fame you've earned, the relationships you've cultivated, none of it is truly yours forever. When you die, it stays behind. The problem is that most people get caught up in this illusion. They chase after things, thinking they'll find fulfillment or happiness in the pursuit. They work tirelessly to achieve success, to build wealth, to gain recognition. But they never realize that these are empty pursuits. None of it brings true peace or joy. In fact, the more you chase, the more you get caught in the web of illusion. You spend your life believing that the more you acquire, the more you do, the more you'll have. But at the end of it all, none of it matters. And in this truth, you are free. The material world is only one layer of existence. It's not the ultimate layer. It's just the most immediate and tangible one. You wake up in it every morning, you interact with it, you consume it, and you attach yourself to it. But what if, just for a moment, you step back and realize that everything around you is an illusion? What if you stopped seeing yourself as just your body, your job, or your possessions? What if you recognized that none of it is real in the grand scheme of your existence? This realization is both liberating and challenging. On one hand, it offers a freedom that few truly understand. Once you begin to see through the illusion, you no longer feel the pressure to accumulate wealth, status, or recognition. You stop chasing things that won't bring lasting fulfillment. You start to understand that true peace comes from within, from remembering your soul's true nature. You begin to realize that happiness is not something that can be acquired. It is something you already possess, something you must rediscover. On the other hand, this realization can be frightening. It forces you to confront the truth that all the things you've worked so hard for, all the things you've spent your life chasing, are nothing more than temporary distractions. When you begin to see through the illusion, it forces you to ask the tough questions. If all of this is temporary, then what is truly important? What is worth pursuing in this life? And if the material world is not the ultimate reality, then what is? These are the questions that begin to arise as you start to wake up. The answers, however, don't come easily. The illusion has been so ingrained in your mind that it's difficult to break free. Society, media, and even your own upbringing have conditioned you to believe that success, money, and recognition are the keys to happiness. But once you see beyond the veil, you realize that these things are mere distractions. They are not the true source of fulfillment. The truth is that you're not defined by what you own, by what you achieve, or by what others think of you. You are not your body, your job, or your identity. You are the awareness behind all of these things. The awareness that has been present throughout every lifetime, every incarnation, every experience you've ever had. This awareness is eternal. It is not bound by time or space. It is not bound by the physical world. When you begin to wake up to this truth, everything changes. The material world no longer has the same hold on you. You no longer feel the need to chase after things that will never bring you lasting happiness. You begin to see the world differently. Instead of looking at it through the lens of desire, you begin to see it as it truly is, a temporary phase, a fleeting moment in a grand expanse of time. You start to realize that life is not about accumulation, it's about experience. It's about growth. It's about remembering who you truly are. But how do you begin this process of awakening? It starts with a shift in perspective. You must start questioning everything you've been taught to believe. You must begin to see the material world for what it truly is, a temporary projection of energy. You must stop identifying yourself with the things you own, the job you have, or the relationships you form. You are not your possessions. You are not your job. You are not your identity. You are the awareness that observes all of these things, the awareness that has been with you through every incarnation. Once you begin to see through the illusion, you begin to awaken to the truth of who you are. You begin to remember that you're not just this body, this life, or this identity. You are an eternal soul on a journey of growth, learning, and evolution. The material world is a stage, a place to learn, but it is not the ultimate truth. The truth lies beyond the veil of this world. And once you begin to see that, everything changes. The truth about life on Earth is that it is not a singular, one-time event. Life, death, and rebirth are part of an endless cycle, one that has been repeating itself for countless eons. Your soul is not confined to a single existence. It is on a never-ending journey of learning, growth, and evolution. And this journey takes place across many lifetimes. You're not just this body, this name, or this identity. You are a soul, an eternal consciousness, and you have been here before. You'll be here again. The moment you were born, you entered this cycle, a cycle that would continue until you awaken to the truth of who you really are. But why would a soul choose to reincarnate over and over again? What's the purpose behind this endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth? The answer lies in the lessons your soul is here to learn. Each lifetime offers a unique set of experiences, both joyful and painful, that allow the soul to evolve. You may not remember your past lives, but your soul carries with it the wisdom gained from every incarnation. The struggles you face, the pain you endure, the lessons you learn, these are all part of your soul's journey toward enlightenment. But not everyone remembers this truth. Most people go through life completely unaware of the fact that they are repeating a cycle. They live in the moment, focused on the external world, believing that this is the only life they will ever have. They chase after things, wealth, status, love, believing that these external accomplishments will bring them lasting happiness. But in truth, these things are just distractions. They are temporary, fleeting, and ultimately meaningless in the grand scheme of existence. The cycle of reincarnation is not just about experiencing pleasure and pain. It's about learning. The soul enters each life with a specific set of lessons to learn, lessons that it cannot fully grasp until it has experienced them firsthand. These lessons are often difficult, sometimes painful, but they are necessary for the growth and evolution of the soul. And when one life ends, the soul carries the lessons it has learned into the next. The cycle continues, each lifetime adding to the soul's understanding of itself and the universe. But why do souls continue to reincarnate? Why do they return to the physical world, knowing that it is full of challenges and hardships? The answer lies in the concept of karma, the law of cause and effect. Every action you take, every decision you make, every word you speak creates an energetic imprint that affects your future. These imprints, or karmic lessons, are carried by the soul from one life to the next. If you don't resolve a karmic issue in one life, you will carry it into the next. The soul continues to reincarnate, lifetime after lifetime, until it has learned the lessons it came to Earth to learn and has resolved its karmic debts. The cycle of reincarnation is not something that happens to you. It is something you choose. Your soul, before it enters the physical world, knows that it will face struggles, challenges, and pain. But it also knows that these experiences are essential for growth. When you're born, you forget this knowledge. You forget the lessons you've learned in previous lives, and you step into the world with a clean slate, ready to experience the next chapter of your journey. This cycle is not a punishment. It is not a cruel system designed to trap you. It is a process of evolution, a process of learning. Each lifetime is an opportunity to grow, to face new challenges, and to resolve unresolved issues from the past. But many souls get stuck in this cycle, unable to break free. Why? Because of attachment. Attachment is the force that keeps you tied to the cycle of reincarnation. You become attached to the things of the world, relationships, possessions, status, desires, and these attachments keep you bound to the physical realm. The more attached you are to these things, the harder it becomes to break free from the cycle. You keep coming back again and again, reincarnating into new bodies, new lives, because you are still attached to the things that the material world offers. But there is another way. The key to breaking free from the cycle of rebirth is detachment. Detachment is not about rejecting the world or the experiences that come with it. It is about recognizing that nothing in this world is permanent. No possession, no relationship, no achievement will last forever. When you learn to detach from the temporary things of this world, you are no longer bound by the cycle. You are free to experience life without the attachments that keep you trapped. Detachment is not about indifference. It is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about experiencing life fully without clinging to it. You can love, you can enjoy, you can experience pleasure and joy, but you do not attach your identity to these things. You recognize that they are temporary, and you learn to let go when the time comes. The more you detach from the material world, the more you can step into your true nature as an eternal soul, free from the confines of the physical realm. But detachment is not easy. It requires you to confront your attachments head-on and release them. It requires you to let go of your attachment to your identity, your possessions, your desires, and even your relationships. It requires you to let go of the belief that these things define you. This is one of the hardest lessons a soul must learn, but it is also one of the most liberating. As you begin to detach, the cycle of reincarnation starts to lose its grip on you. You begin to see the world for what it truly is, a temporary phase, a place to learn, to grow, and to evolve. You begin to understand that life is not about accumulating wealth, status, or possessions. It's about learning to let go, to release, and to remember your true nature. Once you learn to detach, the soul begins to move beyond the cycle. It starts to ascend to higher realms, to a place where it is no longer bound by the limitations of the physical world. This is where true freedom lies, not in accumulating more, but in letting go of the things that bind you to the material realm. And when you reach this point, you have broken free from the cycle of rebirth. But not every soul is ready to break free. Some souls continue to reincarnate again and again until they have learned the lessons they came to learn. The cycle continues until the soul finally realizes that it has the power to break free, that it can choose to let go of its attachments, and that it is not bound to the physical world forever. The question now is, are you ready to break free? Are you ready to step beyond the illusion of the material world and awaken to your true nature as an eternal soul? The choice is yours. The cycle continues for as long as you choose to remain attached. But when you decide to let go, when you decide to awaken, you break free. And that is when your true journey begins. The cycle of reincarnation may seem like a natural part of life, but the truth is, it is something that the soul chooses to remain in. The world around you constantly reinforces the illusion of permanence, encouraging you to hold on to the things you accumulate. But in reality, everything in this world is temporary, and yet we continue to chase after things that will not last. The key reason why souls stay trapped in the cycle of life, death, and rebirth is attachment. Attachment is an invisible chain that binds you to the material world. It's the energy that keeps you coming back for more, the desire to possess, to accumulate, to define yourself by external factors. This attachment forms the basis of many of the patterns you repeat in life. You attach yourself to people, to objects, to identities, to success, and to relationships, thinking that they will provide you with fulfillment. But when these things inevitably fade or change, you feel lost, empty, and incomplete. This is where the struggle begins. The struggle to maintain the illusion of control in a world that is always shifting. Attachment, in all its forms, is what keeps the soul bound to the material realm. It keeps you trapped in a loop of desire, seeking satisfaction in things that ultimately cannot fulfill the deepest part of you. You believe that if you just acquire enough wealth, recognition, or love, you'll find peace. But that peace never comes. The more you grasp of the material world, the more you become tangled in the illusion, repeating the same patterns over and over again. Consider your attachments. What is it that you cling to in this world? Perhaps it's the pursuit of status, the desire for recognition, or the longing for love and connection. You may be attached to your career, your family, your relationships, or even your beliefs. These attachments define who you think you are, but they are not truly who you are. They are temporary identities, constructed by the world around you to keep you tied to the illusion. And as long as you hold on to these attachments, you remain bound to the cycle of reincarnation. Attachment is not limited to material things. It can also manifest in emotions. For example, if you're constantly holding on to anger, fear, resentment, or regret, you are allowing these emotions to define you. The more you cling to these emotions, the more they dictate your experiences and influence your decisions. The soul cannot evolve when it is bogged down by negative emotions from the past. If you carry unresolved emotions, they will follow you from one life to the next, repeating the same cycles of pain and suffering. These emotional attachments are a major reason why some souls remain stuck in the cycle of reincarnation. The more you refuse to release these emotions, the harder it becomes to break free. It is only when you start to let go of these attachments, when you begin to heal and release the emotional baggage, that you can begin to free yourself from the cycle. But letting go is not easy. It requires you to confront your emotions, to face the past, and to release the stories you've been telling yourself about who you are. The process of detachment is not about rejecting the world, but about recognizing that the material world and the identities you have created for yourself are temporary. You are more than your job, your family, your relationships, or your possessions. You're not defined by the things you acquire or the roles you play. Detachment means recognizing that these things do not define your true essence. You are not your attachments. You are the awareness behind them, the consciousness that observes and experiences them. Detachment is the key to breaking free from the cycle of reincarnation. When you stop attaching your sense of self to external things, you begin to shift your focus inward. You start to realize that your true identity is not rooted in the material world. You are not your body, your job, or your social status. You are an eternal soul, and everything in the material world is just an experience, a fleeting moment in your soul's journey. This shift in perspective is essential for awakening. It's not enough to simply detach from things on the surface. You must detach from the identification with the self that the world has given you. The self that believes it is separate, that it needs things to be happy, that it must constantly strive for more. This false self is what keeps you locked in the cycle of rebirth, constantly seeking validation, constantly striving for external markers of success. It's only when you let go of this false self, when you begin to experience life as it truly is, without attachment, that the cycle of reincarnation begins to lose its grip on you. When you let go of attachment, you begin to experience a deeper sense of freedom. You no longer feel the need to chase after external things to define who you are. You no longer seek validation from others. Instead, you begin to understand that true fulfillment comes from within. It comes from remembering your soul's true nature, from reconnecting with the eternal consciousness that resides within you. This freedom is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process. Every time you let go of an attachment, whether it's a person, a belief, or a desire, you free yourself from the cycle of reincarnation. You begin to rise above the illusions of the material world and see them for what they truly are: temporary, fleeting, and ultimately meaningless in the grand scheme of your existence. The journey of detachment is not easy. It requires constant self-reflection, mindfulness, and the willingness to release attachments that no longer serve you. But with each release, you move closer to your true self. You move closer to the awareness that has been with you all along, the awareness that transcends time, space, and form. And as you release your attachments, you begin to remember. You remember that you are not your body, your name, or your story. You're not defined by the things you own, the roles you play, or the labels society has placed on you. You are an eternal soul, and your true nature is beyond all of these things. This remembrance is the key to breaking free from the cycle of reincarnation. When you remember who you truly are, when you let go of the attachments that bind you, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth begins to lose its hold on you. You begin to awaken to the truth that you are more than this world, more than your body, and more than your identity. You are infinite, eternal, and free. The journey of remembering your true self is not easy, but is the most profound journey you will ever take. You will face resistance, both from the world around you and from your own inner attachments. But there are keys to unlocking your soul's awakening, practices that help you step beyond the illusion and reconnect with your higher consciousness. These keys are mindfulness, meditation, detachment, and transcending the ego. Each one offers a different path to awakening, but together they form the foundation of spiritual freedom. Let's explore them one by one. Mindfulness is the first key. In its most authentic form, mindfulness is not a tool for productivity or a way to improve focus. It's much deeper than that. True mindfulness requires you to be fully present, to witness your thoughts, emotions, and actions without attachment or judgment. It's the practice of being aware of the moment as it is, not as you want it to be. It's about observing the thoughts that arise within you, but not identifying with them. The moment you identify with your thoughts, you become trapped by them. You think you're your thoughts. You think you're your fears, your desires, and your expectations. Mindfulness, however, allows you to detach from these thoughts. It teaches you to observe them, but not to hold on to them. When you can observe your thoughts without attachment, you begin to recognize how much of your identity is simply programming. The stories you've been told by society, by your upbringing, by the media, by the world around you. You see that many of your desires are not even truly yours. They were placed there by external influences. Mindfulness helps you break free from these false constructs and reconnect with the awareness that is your true essence. It allows you to see the world without the filter of attachment, giving you the clarity to begin your awakening. The second key is meditation. Meditation is not an escape from life. It's a way of remembering. In the stillness of meditation, you can reconnect with the deeper layers of your being. It is in this quiet space that the noise of the material world fades away, and you begin to experience the profound peace of your true nature. Meditation helps you peel away the distractions, the false identities, and the external influences that have shaped you into someone you are not. When you sit in silence long enough, something shifts. The layers of illusion start to dissolve, and you begin to remember who you really are. Meditation is the practice of returning to the present moment and witnessing your true self beyond all the distractions of the world. It's in this sacred space that you begin to recognize your eternal nature, that you realize you are not just your body or your mind. You're the awareness behind them. The more you meditate, the more you access this awareness, and the closer you come to remembering your soul's infinite journey. Through meditation, you learn to transcend the ego, the small self that has been built over lifetimes. You begin to reconnect with the vastness of your being, the part of you that is unchanging, that exists beyond time and form. The third key is detachment, and it is perhaps the most challenging. Detachment doesn't mean indifference or apathy. It doesn't mean you stop caring about the world around you. It simply means that you stop clinging to the external things that you believe define you. When you detach, you experience life fully, but you do not grasp at it. You love, but you do not try to possess. You enjoy life's pleasures, but you do not become attached to them. Detachment is about recognizing that nothing in this world is permanent and that everything you think you own, everything you think you have, will one day fade away. When you begin to detach from the material world, you stop measuring your worth by the things you accumulate or the roles you play. Detachment is the process of letting go. It's about releasing the need to control, to possess, or to define yourself by your possessions, relationships, or accomplishments. You begin to realize that you're not defined by your job, your family, your wealth, or your social status. You're not the labels that society places on you. You are the awareness behind them, the eternal soul that has experienced countless lifetimes. By letting go of the attachments that bind you, you make space for your true self to emerge. Detachment is not about withdrawing from life. It's about fully engaging with life without becoming attached to the outcomes. You live in the world, but you are not of the world. The fourth key is transcending the ego. The ego is the false sense of self that you have created through your identification with your body, your thoughts, and your emotions. It is the voice in your head that tells you who you are, what you need, and what you should do. The ego is driven by desires, fears, and attachments, and it keeps you locked in the illusion of separation. It convinces you that you are an individual, separate from everyone and everything around you. The ego thrives on comparison, competition, and validation from the external world. Transcending the ego means letting go of the false belief that you are your thoughts, your body, or your identity. It means recognizing that the true you is beyond all of these things. The true you is the awareness that observes everything without judgment or attachment. When you transcend the ego, you begin to experience life from a higher perspective. You see that everything is interconnected, that you are not separate from the world, but a part of it. The ego's need for validation, recognition, and control fades away, and you are free to live in alignment with your higher self. These four keys, mindfulness, meditation, detachment, and transcending the ego, are the practices that lead you to spiritual awakening. They are the tools that help you break free from the cycle of reincarnation, the attachments that bind you, and the false identities that keep you trapped in the illusion. By incorporating these practices into your daily life, you can begin to shift your consciousness, to wake up to the truth of who you are. And once you begin to remember, the entire world around you changes. The material world loses its grip on you, and you start to experience life from a higher, more expansive perspective. But remember, awakening is not a destination, it is a journey. It is a process of continuous growth and evolution, a path that leads you beyond the illusions of this world and into the truth of your eternal nature. With each step you take, you move closer to the remembrance of who you truly are, a soul that has walked countless paths, experienced countless lives, and is now awakening to the infinite possibilities that exist beyond this world. Once you begin to awaken, once you start to detach from the material world and the false identities that have kept you bound, you step into a space beyond time and form. This is the space where your true essence resides, where the eternal soul that has experienced countless lifetimes exists, unbound by the limitations of the physical world. This is the space where the illusion of separation fades, and you remember that you're not just your body, your name, or your story. You're the awareness that has always been and always will be. The experience of stepping into this higher state of consciousness is different for each soul, but there are common elements that transcend time and space. Some souls may experience this transition as a brilliant tunnel of light, a journey into the unknown, while others may encounter a vast, endless horizon. Regardless of the form it takes, this space is one of pure awareness, a state where all illusions dissolve and the truth of your eternal nature becomes clear. When you enter this state, you no longer identify with the ego, the small self that once defined you. You no longer feel the need to chase after external achievements or recognition. You no longer seek validation from the world because you realize that the world is not your source of truth. You are the source. You are the awareness that transcends everything. And in this state of pure knowing, everything makes sense. The chaos of life, the suffering, the struggles, and the pain, they all fade away because you see them for what they truly are: temporary experiences, lessons that the soul must go through in order to evolve. In this higher state of consciousness, you no longer feel separate from others. You see the interconnectedness of all things. You realize that you are not isolated in your experience, but part of an expansive, infinite whole. Everything is connected, and everything is a reflection of your own soul's journey. The walls that once separated you from others, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, dissolve. You see yourself in everyone and everything, and this realization fills you with an overwhelming sense of love and compassion. You understand that all beings are walking their own path of awakening, and you recognize that they too are ultimately you. As you continue to evolve and move deeper into this space of higher consciousness, you begin to shed the limitations of the physical body. You realize that the body is just a vessel, a temporary form that houses your eternal soul. When you no longer identify with the body, you break free from the fear of death. You understand that death is not the end. It is simply a transition. Your soul will move on, shedding the old body as it has done countless times before. Death is not a finality. It is a return to the source, a shedding of the illusion that you are your body and your identity. In this space of pure awareness, you also gain insight into the nature of time. Time, as we experience it in the material world, is an illusion. It is a construct of the mind, a way for the ego to organize experiences and create a sense of progression. But when you transcend the ego, time no longer holds the same power over you. You see that the past, present, and future are not separate. They are all one. Every moment exists simultaneously, and you can access all moments at once. The soul exists beyond time, and this knowledge frees you from the linear perspective of life and death. With this freedom, you understand the cyclical nature of existence. Life, death, and rebirth are not linear events, but cyclical processes that continue until the soul has learned all the lessons it came to experience. When the soul has completed its journey through the material realm, it no longer needs to reincarnate. It ascends beyond the need for a physical body, moving into higher realms of consciousness that are free from the limitations of form. However, this ascension is not automatic. It is not something that happens simply because you reach a certain level of awareness. Ascension is a choice, a decision made by the soul to move beyond the material realm and into higher states of consciousness. The soul must be ready to let go of its attachments to the physical world, to the ego, and to the illusion of separation. Only when the soul has fully awakened to its true nature can it transcend the cycle of reincarnation. But not all souls are ready for this ascension. Some continue to reincarnate, returning to the material world time and time again, because they have unresolved lessons or karmic debts that still need to be addressed. The cycle of reincarnation continues until the soul has learned all that it came to learn, until it has released all attachments and recognized the truth of its eternal nature. For those who are ready, the path to ascension is clear. They move beyond the illusion of time and form and step into a realm where there is no suffering, no separation, and no limitation. In this realm, the soul is free to continue its evolution, but it does so without the constraints of the physical world. The soul becomes pure awareness, existing in a state of infinite expansion, able to perceive all things from a higher perspective. There is no fear, no pain, and no death in this realm. Only eternal truth and boundless love. This is the ultimate goal of spiritual awakening: to break free from the cycle of reincarnation, to transcend the illusion of time and form, and to reunite with your true nature. When you reach this point, You no longer see yourself as an individual entity, separated from the rest of existence. You realize that you are everything, and everything is you. You are the awareness behind all things, the consciousness that has always been and always will be. But this is not the end of the journey. As you continue to evolve, you begin to recognize that this process of awakening is ongoing. Even in the higher realms, there are new experiences, new lessons, and new ways to grow. The soul is always expanding, always evolving, always moving toward greater understanding. There is no final destination, no point at which you stop growing. The journey is infinite. And so, the question remains, will you continue on this journey of awakening? Will you break free from the cycle of rebirth and transcend the illusion of the material world? The choice is yours. You are the one who decides when the time is right to step beyond the illusion and into the truth of your eternal nature. The journey is yours to make, and the possibilities are endless.